Hello there. You have stumbled upon the Terribly Vexed podcast. The fellas have been expecting you. Please prepare to have your mind blown squarely out of your ass. Be sure to set your motherfucker to receive. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Terribly Vexed podcast with me, Justin Perlione, and
Josh
Branson. I was just going to say, how are you? Just to get the conversation going.
Yeah.
You know?
Welcome back, everybody.
Yep. It's been a while.
Episode 17.
This is it. The big 1-7. We got a doozy.
Almost
today.
done. We're almost finished with this thing.
3 more.
This little project we've had of ours.
Yeah. Unless, this is what I was thinking about doing last night. I was thinking we only had like one real review. If we don't get a review, one more, by the time episode 20 hits, I will kill myself. What do you think? I think that seems fair.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. Positive or negative review, as long as there's a 5-star rating involved. But if there's not one, it's nice knowing you.
Yeah. And if he doesn't do it, then I will.
You will.
Yeah.
You will.
One of us is going to do it if we don't get some feedback.
That's. I think that seems fair. So how have you been?
I've been all right.
Yeah?
Yeah. How you been, fella?
I'm not well, and I'll tell you why.
I think we all want to hear about it.
I've been on this bandwagon for a while. You're a newcomer to it, especially this year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. 2 words. Fuck summer.
Right.
What do you think?
Past, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 years. You were saying that to me a lot longer than that. I didn't fully appreciate it. I do now.
Yeah. It's awful. Everything about it, especially like the past month here. What's been in the 90s?
I broke a sweat just walking from the car inside. Just coming inside here. We're talking, 40, 50 feet.
Yeah.
It's bad, man.
It's awful. And it's not only just the heat. It's the sun that's beating down on you.
Constantly.
The bugs. Which, don't get me started on bugs. I work amongst them. I don't know why I have this job. I'm out in it, and I hate everything about it. And I go there every day. That's a whole nother topic, though.
Yeah.
But I don't like summer.
Summer.
4th of July, in particular, I don't really love, especially this year, because it's hot.
Holidays.
Everybody wants, holidays just suck.
I don't subscribe.
Yeah, horrible.
As
Christmas,
a wise man once said, I don't subscribe to
fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank.
Right.
But right now I'm saying holidays.
And
any of them.
Birthdays?
Nope.
I hate them too. Even my own.
You're surprised for a second. Like, come on, holidays? Like your birthday?
No. Any holiday that focuses on a single person, where gifts must be purchased and attention must be paid.
I don't like being told.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to celebrate today.
It sucks. Yeah. Christmas would be okay. Everybody gets together, but there's the gifts that need to be. It's expensive. It's stressful. I hate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stress, and just people really even appreciate or know why they're celebrating the 4th of July now. I see a family in the grocery store yesterday. The whole family's wearing clothing that's got it's like the father's wearing American flag shorts, the woman's wearing American flag, some sort of coverall type looking thing. The kids are all wearing. I go out, I see a truck. The truck is covered in flags. I know which family is driving that truck.
It's quickly becoming the tackiest holiday.
It's real tacky.
Easter has always been. Easter and Halloween they're my least favorite as far as the decoration. Easter's number 1 by far.
But I don't know. I don't like holidays, man.
Going back to 4th of July for a second, what are your thoughts on fireworks?
Hate them.
Me too. Unless I'm the one lighting them, and even that, the fun lasts for about 10 minutes.
Gets on my nerves.
Going to a fireworks show,
all these
packing the car up.
Firework little tents they set up all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
If you're I assume it's in the greater portion of most of the country, but if you're in the southeast, it's really everywhere.
It's big business.
It's every on a highway somewhere, every 8 to 10 miles.
Yeah.
There's a tent.
It's a tent set up, and there's usually a camper, and they're living there for the few weeks leading up to the 4th.
All of this has nothing to do with conspiracy theory. We're just complaining right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
You know, it's topical.
It's current.
Yeah.
It's current event.
I think so.
You know, it's what we're thinking about. Besides this stuff, we're not just thinking about history, parapolitics, conspiracy theory related material. I mean, I mostly am, but
yeah. But speaking of conspiracy theory, we got a doozy.
I hate fireworks. I hate the heat.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of people.
Ticks.
Humans.
You said a tick problem when you pulled in here.
Ticks.
Ticks suck.
Ticks. Lyme disease.
Yep.
You know.
Don't get me started about lemon disease.
The humidity is the thing, you know? When you're just standing in place and just pouring sweat.
Yeah, it's awful. It's my least favorite. I don't think anybody enjoys it.
In the southeast region, portion of the United States, if you're down here, if you're down south, it's going to be this until about mid-November. So
God, I hope not.
it is.
I hope not.
It normally doesn't really start like getting cooler until like, you know, my birthday's November, so probably around about early parts, first couple of weeks of November. It finally dips into the 40s, 50s.
Yeah, and then then you only got like 3 weeks of that maybe, and then it's 18 degrees out.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And then right back into summer.
Yeah.
There's no spring. And we're not even in the deep south, so we're not even like, you know, Alabama and stuff like that, Mississippi down there where it's, I remember my cousin lived in Alabama, and he told me one time, he was like, you just look out the window and you start sweating. It's so hot, so humid.
Yeah.
I think he was in Birmingham.
Went down to Florida a couple weeks ago. I may have mentioned that in the last episode. Not sure. Either way, went down to Florida. Good Lord. You could walk out and it was just, the area was thick. It was like right on the beach, of course. So it was, then my friend I'm following my friend along to go wherever we were going. He has the audacity to be driving around with his windows down, his arm hanging out the window.
He's used to it, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
What are you doing?
Is there something to this climate change, this global warming?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never heard of it?
Global warming?
I haven't either. I know they changed the name several times to accommodate what's...
Yeah. I don't know. I've heard so many different theories about that. Like, it's bullshit. 2, it's really happening. And then in the middle, you got all these other theories. We're slowly still coming out of the ice age. Yeah. This is what the Earth is supposed to be, hotter than this even.
Like weird 70s documentaries were always predicting we're going into an ice age. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that was all about. There was always, I know you can find a lot of those on YouTube. There was old magazine articles and stuff like that. They were, you know, the coming ice age. I don't see it right now. Unless there's supposed to be some sort of a real dramatic shift, a swing, you know, from this hot temperature to...
That's why it's just climate change now.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, I guess like the trends are there, like the environmental trends.
Yeah.
But then you got people, then they're also saying, the weather guys can't even predict the weather 2 days out. So how are you supposed to predict the weather years out? You know what I'm saying?
And like the whole carbon credit thing just seems like a scam. Like, oh, as long as you're buying these carbon credits, as your corporation, you know, as you buy them, you can offset what's happening because you spend money. You know what I mean? It's like, it seems a little scamish to me, right? But
I will be honest with you. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Carbon credits?
Yeah.
Like businesses?
Yeah. You know, companies that would pollute. Yeah. Or, you know, let's say you're a celebrity and you're promoting things that have to do with climate change. You can, and of course, you're flying around in a private jet all the time or something. Let's say you can offset what you're doing to the environment by purchasing carbon credits. You know, you're doing your part to, so it allows you to travel by private jet, you know, and it allows you to be a company that pollutes.
Because you put money into something.
Because you spend money on...
Okay. A carbon credit.
It's like you could liken it to, let's say, what is a gas guzzler tax in a car with a state, I guess, that has those. Like if you buy a car that's got like a V8 that gets like 10 miles to the gallon or something. Right. You spend an extra $3,000 on the car because you're a polluter.
So the money's theoretically going somewhere to offset your damage, but really it's just going into somebody's
nonsense.
Yeah, I got you.
I think that's how that works. I could be wrong.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've been wrong before. And this is always the place you want to showcase your
Well, this
error.
this isn't the actual meat of this episode. This is just like we're just chit chatting here. Nobody knows what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
But carbon credits, yeah, that's probably a scam.
yeah,
That is a scam.
I hear you.
If you're a massive corporation and you that's your way of like, oh, we'll pollute every river near us, but
It looks good.
or on the globe, and
Yeah.
all the damage that we're doing to ecosystems and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then when people start knocking on your door,
You're buying your way out of it.
yeah, you just be like, well, look at this.
Yeah, look at this piece of paper. Look how many carbon credits we've purchased.
Yeah,
Where does that money go? Does it actually go to anything that's
that's the
you're paying a government?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
we're going to be talking eventually at some point about something called Project Montauk. We'll get there shortly. Again, we've got a few other things we'd like to discuss. Just so
Yeah.
you know what the hell this episode is about, minus looking at the title of the episode. in
Right, that's the whole thing that
podcast list.
these podcasts do. They tease the episode while they're talking, but you downloaded it, so you already know what the hell they're going to be talking about.
Or streamed it, I guess.
Well, either way, you clicked on it.
You're here. You're here.
Yeah. I had a great current event type segue to get into the Montauk project, but do you have anything else you want to discuss?
You said earlier that you had, before we started the show, that you had been reading quite a few books recently. Does that have anything to do with anything conspiracy theory or history related? Other than what research you were doing for this?
I read the book where the Montauk project started, but other than that, it's just been some whodunits. Some
just
sci-fi
fiction?
stuff.
Fiction
Yeah,
stuff?
Fiction. Some Andy Weir. Project Hail Mary, which is a great book. I loved it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just
you told
fiction.
about that one. Gotcha.
Fiction, yeah. But I've just been plowing through books,
But nothing related to this.
except for that one.
Except for the
Experiments in time. Oh God, the Montauk
Project Experiments in
Experiments
Time
in Time. Yeah.
by Preston B. Nichols.
Yep, that's him.
Did you by chance get to look at that Montauk Revisited, which was his, I guess, another book
No.
published in '94? That first one came out in '92.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of tough to.
That's what we're doing here. That's the whole point of this.
It's a tough for me. It was a tough read just because it kind of was just. Oh my! All right, and the way he wrote, it's like in first person, like he's telling his story about how it actually happened.
It's like a journal.
down.
It's like a journal entry.
Yeah. And
I started
wasn't-
it, but then I quickly backed away and
Yeah.
went to other podcasts
Yeah.
that are probably going to be far more informative.
Yeah.
On the on the Project Montauk.
yeah, definitely. Then the book, not us, right?
Not this podcast.
Yeah.
Even though this
We got all the facts.
essentially is what this podcast is supposed to be about. But anyway, nothing related to that. I have, and I mentioned this earlier, I think I had done Dave McGowan's book recently, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, which has to do with Laurel Canyon. Are you familiar with that?
I know of Laurel Canyon.
Real quick, and I think I did on the promoted it on our Instagram page,
Which you can get at TobyVex.com. Just a little quick.
Yep.
Getting that out there.
Just getting it out there. Has to do with a lot of the sort of strange coincidences of things that took place inside Laurel Canyon, which is in Los Angeles. Was kind of the music scene, the hippie music scene of the 1960s. All the strange connections to military intelligence,
Right.
which we all find interesting.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like a bunch of rich kids that kind of went out there, a bunch of trust fund kids. But of course, they were promoting this whole like free love and hippie, bullshit. Pretty much, I guess you look at all of the research he did for that book, and his thesis is that it was just a bunch of nonsense. It was controlled opposition, basically. I guess you had people protesting the war in Vietnam at the time, and of course, you want to kind of control dissent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where it began, I guess, in universities with some legitimacy, these people we're assuming intelligence agencies sort of took charge of that movement to protest the war, which went on for 15 years? Many years after, it was still going on at that point, but they sort of took it and, moved the hippies in on it and
I got you.
Gave it this sort of ridiculous,
right.
I guess what you'd say, some sort of a ridiculous just pile of nonsense. These people were just, these people they're not to be taken seriously.
Yeah. Kind of
drugs,
the same way.
Lots of drugs, rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
free love, all this bullshit that they were. And so a lot of that came out of Laurel Canyon.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the UFO nuts. The government's, I believe them. Go ahead.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah, that's a big thing is that they wanted these idiots to be saying aliens, but really it's just their, classified aircraft up there. They don't want anybody to talk about, but yeah, go ahead, talk about aliens.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like they would promote,
Yep.
But, obviously these people were being promoted. They controlled the music. They controlled the information. Of course, there was one guy in particular that I was going to start kind of reading up on, and I'm sure somebody's already read up on this guy because this all happened 40, 50 years ago. But he was one of the main LSD producers in that time period. And it's just it's weird that he was just allowed to sort of operate freely. I don't know that he ever actually got in any sort of real trouble. He, at one point, I guess, moved to Australia, which, how do you, after so many years of being known as, the primary, LSD producer of that era, just freely moved to Australia? I think he died in a single car crash, which, again, is always suspect when there's so many of those that have happened. Anyway, finished that book recently, and it was just fascinating. One of the weird ones that kind of pops out top of my head right now. I'm just thinking about all these different, and there's so many you couldn't even begin. Unfortunately, Dave McGowan's passed away. He got some sort of aggressive form of cancer. Passed away several years ago, I think. But he had done quite a few podcasts, interviews, so people can really check those out.
Yeah,
where he talks about this stuff. And but one of the ones that kind of pops out is Jim Morrison's dad, who was a rear admiral in the Navy and one of the main people sort of associated with the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Are you familiar with that?
I know of it. Yeah.
Well, basically, that was just the incident that there was a real incident, and then there was this sort of fabricated, exaggerated incident, which is sort of attributed to being the incident that got us into the Vietnam War.
Right.
I.e., it was a bunch of bullshit. It was completely made up, like a false flag attack, right?
False flag operation.
Yeah. A false flag attack that happened in the Gulf of Tonkin. They fabricated it, made it up, and that's what got us into the war. That's Jim Morrison's dad, Jim Morrison of The Doors. And so what he basically chronicles in his book are all these weird military connections, military intelligence connections. Like Frank Zappa, his dad was I think he was a chemical warfare engineer. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Frank Zappa, yeah. And he was Los Alamos and stuff like that, I think, and other, top secret, high levels, facilities for, military facilities.
Huh.
And also, their public personas were not who they actually were. Frank Zappa was kind of an asshole, power hungry, sort of in control, and, all these people, for whatever reason, lived in or around or had lots of associations with other people that lived in Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles. There was also a military intelligence base there. It just goes on and on. It's a fascinating book, and I would, highly encourage people to check that one out. It's actually an audiobook form on Audible, and of course you can locate it I think there's actually a PDF copy on the Internet Archive, so you can actually read it for free.
There you go.
But it's fascinating. It's an entire book full of that stuff.
And what was it called again?
Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon.
I might have to check that one out.
Yeah, he did another book too called Programmed to Kill. Had to do with the serial killers, the prevalence of serial killers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s,
Yeah.
What the hell that was all about.
Yeah.
You know, was
Yeah.
there some sort of program where some of these people were being, MK Ultra'd and released into the public? You know,
You mean saying like with hidden memories and hidden past that are activated later?
You know,
Kind of relating to
Project Montauk.
what we're about to talk
Is
about.
that the segue?
No.
Okay.
My segue was going to be dumber than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess talk for a little bit, and I'll try to work in my segue.
You want to see if you can?
Yeah.
Okay. What can I talk about now?
I know we could. Have you
Amber
seen
Heard.
Amber Heard.
I am absolutely this woman. Did you watch any of the trial?
Just like what I've seen on reels or like the clips. No real. I saw the weirdo psychiatrist or something like that. He was licking his. See that guy? Yeah.
Right. She's of course. There's been lots of audio slip out, and of course they listened to some stuff in the trial. I haven't seen a single movie this woman has been in. I didn't know. I know she after the fact. I was like, obviously knew they were married.
Yeah.
Never really even seen her face. Didn't know shit about her. She was in like what, Magic Mike or something like that. It's like a cameo.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only seen Pineapple Express.
Aquaman.
Yeah. I guess I
Okay.
did see that.
Whatever.
Sure.
Aquaman 2. She was
Yeah.
supposed to be in that. I guess from what I've read, her part has been significantly reduced because of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because obviously the trial, she was found guilty of defamation.
Mhm.
Okay, basically saying she made up a bunch of shit. And of course, I listened to some of that audio. I hate to admit it, but I got hooked on this thing a little bit.
You were like, it was like the OJ trial for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of got hooked on a little bit and listened to some of the audio. She is crazy. She's completely insane.
Allegedly.
I don't want to get.
Yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't mind getting a little defamation trial with her too, if you know what I mean. Huh?
I hear you.
She's stumbles across this podcast and
You never know.
she sues me.
She might get a good book recommendation.
Sues
out of you.
us.
She likes those
She's not
books.
just going to sue me. She'll sue us.
That's fine.
We have nothing to take.
Take my $200.
Take our microphones
Yeah.
and our tall boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah. We got nothing.
I watched this thing, listened to some of the audio. Johnny Depp, they're just a couple of cokeheads. Poor girl, she can't even formulate an actual sentence most of the time. She struggles formulating a sentence. She's incoherent. She's mean. She's so mean. The shit she says is just brutal.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely am in love with this gal.
You like him crazy. Or you think it was you telling me about that clip where Johnny Depp was going up to the stand and she pressed up against the wall to get away from him?
Well, yeah, he just walked around his table. It was in
Okay.
the courtroom.
Yeah.
And she puts on this big show like she was terrified of him,
Right.
where she's stumbles back to get away from him
Yeah.
like he was going to attack her right there.
Even if he was violent, he would do it right there in the courtroom in front of everybody.
And he's a little diminutive sort of fella,
Yeah.
I think she's actually taller than he is. She's he's not, and he's a very peaceful, artistic, very quiet. Obviously you listen to those audio clips and he's screaming and cussing and they're both cussing each other and they're yelling at each other and saying awful shit.
Yeah.
But I am just fascinated by this woman.
Yeah.
And I would marry her right now if she walked in this and she asked me to.
Well, Josh.
She's insane. I would sign up real quick. I'd sign up for, like most people seem to have signed up for just a relatively short period of time. I think Johnny stayed in there the longest. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
3 months. Give me 3 months with this gal just to go on that Amber Heard ride just for a little while.
Yeah.
And
So it'll be Elon Musk, Johnny Depp,
James
Josh
Franco.
Branson.
James Franco.
James Franco, I forgot. Yeah.
And all of her girlfriends. She had quite a few girlfriends.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Don't they all, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, girls, isn't it weird girls can just do that?
Just.
Guys, you suck one dick, you're gay for life. It's not fair.
But she's you can't trust a fucking word that comes out of her mouth. She's just a liar. Everything she says is a lie. It's amazing. And she just is a horrible actress. I don't know how she has any sort of career doing anything. But just, I mean, I don't know if she's still up there right now, but she was in the Hamptons. You know, that whole thing. She's shopping in TJ Maxx. Well, you know, sure, people shop in TJ Maxx, even if
she shouldn't be there.
She shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
She's rich.
Not anymore.
Apparently.
From what I heard, I may have the figures wrong. I most likely do. I didn't really follow it that closely. Let's just say it was $13 million she had to give to Johnny Depp. And that was all she had, apparently. That's what I heard somebody say on somewhere. I don't even know. She had to give all of her money to Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Well, it would be, you know, whatever she had left. Whatever she had.
Right. So, and then I also read that she rented out this giant house
for the trial.
Like, her family was
$22,000 a month or something.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
She's getting money from somewhere.
Was she just trying to get that just spent just to...
I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know. But you'd think Elon Musk...
Well, she had a child via a surrogate. So people are kind of wondering who the father of this...
I didn't know that.
And if it's Elon, obviously, well, she don't have much to worry about. Financially speaking.
That is true. But also, you'd think you could make it work with a billionaire like that. I think I would try extra hard.
Yeah, but you know,
even if she was a maniac, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, but there's nothing there. She's an empty husk. She has no soul.
Oh, it's her. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
And like I was saying in the text the other day about, like, you know, she's always like, oh, I read books.
Yeah.
You know, like she's got an intellect and she's, you know, she is a clown and I want her. I'm fascinated by this psychopath. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Again, I still haven't seen anything she's ever been in. I know nothing about whatever.
Yeah.
And I want it.
But you'd marry her.
Right now.
Right now. Well, Josh, say hello to Amber. Come on in, Amber. How great would that be?
That'd be pretty great.
Yeah.
I'd put up with her shit.
You think?
I think she needs this. This is what I think she needs.
You'd be a formidable adversary for her in the yelling department, I would imagine. I've seen you get mad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody posted on Twitter she did some sort of an interview, like FHM or something, one of those men magazines from years ago, Maxim, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what she was talking about in that interview, that she was probably in her early 20s. She liked to fight. She needs somebody that she can fight with.
Yeah.
You know?
There you go.
And Johnny Depp's probably pretty chill. He's high as hell all the time. You know?
I'd say so.
Psilocybin, you know?
Yeah.
Mushrooms.
His mega pints of wine.
Mega pints of wine.
That was a good moment. I did see that.
He's always high.
Yeah.
And the poor gal, they've done so much coke. She's done so much coke. She's so full of shit. I love her. It's fascinating.
Well, go out there and get her, man.
And to watch her lie and just make up shit. You can see it on her face, you know, as you're watching somebody and you're just like, she is lying. Every word she says is nonsense.
Yeah.
She can't even. It's great.
Well, Amber Heard, if you're listening to this, and we know that you are, Josh is here waiting for you.
Yeah.
So come on down.
She said she liked older men, too. I got a few years on her, so.
How old is she?
38, I think. 36, 37? Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there.
Huh. How do you like that?
Your age.
My age.
I got a couple years on her.
Yeah.
I could set her straight. I could fix her. I could
fix her right up.
Fix her right up.
So what do you think she's doing these days?
I have no idea. She's being a
just
mommy. She said that in her interview.
Oh, God.
Like I said, she had a surrogate. So,
yeah.
People are trying to figure out who's the daddy here, you know.
Yeah.
Some other gal, I guess, gave birth and with her eggs or something like that, and how that works.
I think so. But I wonder if she's spending a lot of her time these days watching TV.
Good question. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just saying, because with the recent release of the final 2 episodes of season 4 of Stranger Things.
Oh, right. Stranger Things. She could be watching some TV right now.
Yeah. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah,
Stranger
I do.
Things.
I think so.
Okay.
It's that time.
This is my segue.
All right, good.
Because
Maybe she's... Yeah.
Oh, what?
No. Go ahead.
because she is a Stranger Thing?
Sure.
Because Stranger Things was inspired by the goings-on and happenings at the Montauk Project base area.
Which is
Montauk, Long Island.
Montauk, Long Island.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
Just down the road from the Hamptons, which is where she was last seen.
Exactly.
At the TJ Maxx and a grocery store. Amber Heard.
Good Lord. What? I gotta say.
This is out of character for me.
What
right?
a great. Well, it is. Yeah, I was going to say, good Lord, what a great segue by me.
Perfect.
Amber Heard, Hamptons, Montauk, Stranger Things. It's all coming together.
Yep. It's time to transition into the actual episode.
I guess so. We've been yamming?
If you've made it this far.
Yeah. 30 minutes or so. 31 minutes.
We try and give the first 30 minutes to current events.
Yeah.
Maybe just let you guys and gals into.
I believe they call it a dirty 30. Right? Dirty 30, funny 20, lean 15.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think that's radio talk.
We want to let you in so you know a little bit about us.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We'll just let you peek behind the curtain a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, how do you want to get started with this Montauk Project nonsense?
I don't know. I'm going to be a passenger on this ride.
All right. Well, I have the wiki. If you were to type in what is the Montauk Project, I have the
if you've never heard of it before, we're going to start right there.
And this is
start at the ground floor.
I believe this is how every podcast starts about the Montauk Project.
Because I've listened to quite a few of them.
Yeah, but it really does just sum it up perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and read it right now.
Right.
The Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges there was a series of U.S. government projects conducted, here we go, at Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Base in Montauk, New York, for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. But it is not limited to just time travel. What
you will soon discover, it includes essentially every conspiracy theory you've ever heard in your entire life.
If there's something you've heard or seen in a movie,
in some way it's connected.
It happened here in Long Island.
And when you mentioned Stranger Things, people know that's where Stranger Things pulled a lot of its stuff from? From Project Montauk.
Yep. A lot of we're 11. Have you seen Stranger Things?
No, I haven't.
You should. It's a great show. I love it. But
my sister has been trying to get me to watch it.
I think you would dig it. Most of us had the 80s, little throwback.
Retro.
Yeah, it's great.
Vintage.
In season 3, Starcourt Mall. It's good stuff.
I tried to explain it to her, though, why I can't watch it and why I've tried and why it didn't hook me. It's because it's not real 80s. Anything from the 80s, of which there are still a lot I have not seen.
Well,
even shitty movies.
Nothing new is going to be from the real 80s.
I know that, but there's so much from the 80s that I haven't seen.
Oh, you just want to...
Actual 80s movies.
Right.
Shitty actual 80s movies.
Right.
Real stuff. I just go to the source, not just people making it, remaking it, or attempting to,
I get it. I get what you're saying, but this is also just a great show.
I know.
What if Amber Heard said, I want to watch this with you?
I'd want to have sex with her.
Okay. Fair enough. That'll do it. So what were we talking about before you having sex with Amber Heard? Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers, I believe, they created this show. They wanted to call it was originally titled Montauk, based on the Montauk Project, but they didn't want to get Stranger Things tied in with the lore, the craziness that is the Montauk Project. So
it's
they just
pretty crazy.
Yeah, they swapped, over to Stranger Things, which is for the better, I think.
Yeah. Make it your own, right?
Yeah, but like the whole 11 in the chair, her remote viewing, the monster, all that stuff.
Which, by the way,
and more is in the real Montauk conspiracy.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not even going to be able to come close in the next, probably giving this, we'll say an hour is what we normally do past our dirty 30 to go into everything that is involved with the Montauk Project or Project Montauk. There's way too much.
There is no way. If we were just talking before we started recording, if you were to type in, I'm just going to throw one out real quick here, the fact that they were harvesting adrenochrome from children to give to the reptilians for their food. You go to search for that, and you not only find that,
somehow it finds its way back to...
And then there's links galore in that article to, God knows what.
Project Montauk.
The Syrians, not the ones that live on Earth, the ones that are from the Sirius star system or whatever. It's craziness.
Yeah. And so did you give a time period as to kind of when this was taking place?
I think the 70s is when they converted.
All of this shit happened in the 70s.
The Camp Hero base was built in 1942. It was an Air Force base used for defense against, Europe.
Eastern
bullshit.
defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the eastern,
Yeah, against the war. Used in the war against the bad boys. And
right, a defensive position to,
Yeah, and the base was converted into Montauk Air Force Base, and they used for all these nefarious experiments.
And it's supposed to have like this underground...
See, this is where it gets... I've heard 12 floors.
I don't want to jump ahead here, but, I haven't mentioned... sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, we're talking about where all this came from. Normally... Real quick, if I can just, because is so much attached to the Project Montauk conspiracy theory, it's important to note that this particular conspiracy came from essentially one person, Preston Nichols.
Yep.
But the book that he wrote in the early 90s, or the book that came out in like 92, was also like co-written by that Al Bialik guy. They wrote the book together. So you have a conspiracy that came from essentially two people.
Yeah.
Everything about it came from two people, mostly one person. And you can still see like interviews and watch talks that Preston Nichols gave. Yeah.
And he doesn't look crazy or Asperger at all, in my opinion.
I mean, when he talks, like I don't even know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of some of his talks that he's given.
Yeah, like whether or not to take him seriously, you mean?
Either he's a genius, an absolute brilliant mind, a genius, or he's completely insane, just making shit up and pulling it out of his ass, or he's just a con man.
So you say like he'd make a good author, like a good fiction writer. Which, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Well, in the book, like at the intro to the actual book, he says he has no hard facts, which he breaks down facts, like hard facts. There's evidence included, this, that. This book is made up of soft facts. There are no no documentation to back his story up. So his book,
you're paraphrasing, but that's actually what it says in there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And he says this book can be read as sci-fi or nonfiction, however, whatever is easiest for the reader to take in.
See, that's a little frustrating.
Yeah. So from the get-go, it's a little fishy.
a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, here's my story of what actually happened.
Actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it's mostly bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what every time I looked into this thing, trying to prepare for you can't really prepare for an episode on Project Montauk, I've discovered, because it's like, you start reading up on it, you'll find something new. And like, oh, that's attached to it as well.
Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to think, are you familiar with SCP Foundation? It's like a creative writing sci-fi thing. It's SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect. It's a bunch of short stories. There's a whole little back lore behind it, but really you can just get on the internet. You can write a story based on, you just take a picture of a lamp, and then there's a whole story based on this lamp. The lamp's an evil thing. It controlled this. And the SCP group contained this lamp. It's in section of whatever their warehouse is. Anyways, they got a whole little back lore, and somebody can just add to it. And that's kind of what the Montauk Project is. It's like they got the main story by Preston Nichols.
From him.
And now people are just lumping in everything, creating a little short story, little thing, but it's lumped in as fact.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's how I took it anyways.
Well, see, and like, you just being sort of an outsider to this thing and just really seeing it for the first time, because until you brought it up, I didn't really know that much about it. I guess for obvious reasons, once I started reading into it. It's
Right.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's not really something that I would be... I can understand why people are fascinated by it.
It's fun.
Mystery, intrigue.
Yeah.
But, and I was going to bring this up just as good a time as any. There's the documentary that you were talking about, and there's the interviews with people.
Yeah.
What's the name of the documentary again?
The Montauk Chronicles.
Okay, so there's that documentary. There are many others, I'm sure. TV shows, segments from other TV shows,
Yeah.
other writings on it. It feels like, and I could be wrong, but it feels like people have, like you said, latched on to this thing
Mm-hmm.
and are now just almost cultish-like.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
That one guy that had said he was one of the Montauk boys, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Essentially just some of the unwilling participants of this thing that as it was going on.
Yeah.
They have just decided to fabricate these stories. Preston Nichols has passed away. Both the guys that were associated with the book have passed away. And you can basically, if you're of the right age, just come out of the woodwork and say, I was one of these people that was
one of 'em.
experimented on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because the thing about it is, all those memories are locked away until something triggers them, and then you remember everything about your past, being there, being tortured.
yeah. So if you can just say, well,
Yeah.
something just woke me up one day,
Yep.
and I remembered all of that had happened to me. I'd been abducted.
Yeah. And for Preston Nichols, that thing was the movie, The Philadelphia Experiment, in 1984. Have you ever seen that one? Speaking of 80s movies.
So was he supposed to be, like I said, I was going to be a sort of a passenger on this little
okay.
episode. Was he conducting? I was under the impression that he was sort of conducting some of these experiments because supposedly, real quick though, before we get off into this, just a real quick little bio of Preston Nichols. I have no idea where I pulled this, but I think it's off somebody's website. It says he has degrees in parapsychology, psychology, and electrical engineering. Okay. It seems like the electrical engineering, it could be a real possibility, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Parapsychology, psychology, a lot of these things are sort of up in the air. They're not really sure if he actually has these degrees or not. Just a short...
Very similar to Bob Lazar.
Right.
This whole little iffy backstory.
Yeah, Bob Lazar. He was supposed to have gone to MIT or something like that.
MIT.
He had but nobody knew him.
Nobody knew him. The records have been erased. Yeah.
Right.
That's the only part about his story that I hate, because it really is not believable.
Bob Lazar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's one of those deals where it's like he stuck to his story for so many years. I want to believe that there's some truth to it, but there's too many things to make me question his legitimacy as far as who he says he is, what he's done, where he worked, there's too much there to question. Anyway.
Yep.
Same with Preston Nichols. But anyway, just a real quick, a short bio here. He was born Long Island, New York, 1946, received those degrees, parapsychology, psychology, electrical engineering. After graduating, he went into defense electronics and wound up working at Brookhaven and AIL. In 1968, Preston's involvement with Montauk began. He got involved at the tail end of the stealth research at AIL. Preston was told that the research started right after the Philadelphia experiment. Now, this is just what I've pulled from a website. Don't know if any of this is accurate. Again, it's very difficult to research this thing. He actually read the final report of the Project Rainbow, which we know is the Philadelphia experiment. The report named the Cameron brothers as being the Navy liaisons in the experiment. They're working on interfacing a person's mind to the computer. Preston worked with that aforementioned Al Bielek.
I've heard that pronounced Bielek. Yeah,
On the psychic aspects of the Montauk chair and the Montauk Boys program. Preston trained the Montauk Boys to be Psi warriors The Montauk chair used subtle quantum fields to read a person's thoughts. A psychic would lay in the chair, go into a trance, and a group of coils pick the...
The what?
I don't know. A bank of radio receivers designed by Tesla would pick up and digitize the thought. I mean, but to read up on this guy, it just goes, way off the rails.
Which I guess lends to the, quote, believability of his book. Because he said he's claiming he was the project director of a lot of these things. He started working with...
So he was in charge.
He was in charge, but he forgot about it until 1984.
Why? How do you forget about it?
Well, because the memories were buried in his subconscious. They didn't want him to remember it, and then they just released him. Right?
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, yeah, he was a project director, supposedly. He started working with mental telepaths, psychic stuff like that. And he said he didn't really believe it until he started working with it. And then all of a sudden, he's starting to notice that these things are actually happening. And that these telepathic waves act very similar to radio waves, which we all know he was a big fan of. He loved his little ham radios and all that stuff. If you watch any of his interviews, well, especially that one,
or he's in his house,
it's
just full of electronic equipment.
Yep.
He had some sort of fixation on that stuff,
big time.
Which isn't to say that he actually knew what he was doing with any of it.
No,
it was just a bunch of junk piled up in rooms.
Yeah.
Best I could tell.
Yep. So did you hear about him, like, once his memories got triggered, he went back to the base? This is later on.
I missed that one.
After he was done, he went to the base just to try to, get in there, see if it was any truth behind this. And there was a guard outside that said, "No, you can't get in here." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he went back to work. Right? And then this is before he started working with the psychics. And then he had these psychics all, doing their thing. And at a certain time, this is a couple years later, at a certain time of day, there was a certain frequency, certain megahertz, whatever, radio wave that would just blast out from somewhere on the island, Long Island. And his psychics got jammed.
Yikes.
Yeah, they've been jammed. And he used his equipment to triangulate where this was coming from.
Okay.
Guess where it was coming from?
Where?
Old Camp Hero, which is now, at this point, the Montauk Air Force Base. This big antenna on top was just blasting out some sort of frequency for, I don't know why. But he didn't either. And then so he tries to get in again. They're like, "No, it's just for the FAA. The FAA's doing something." He's like, this is baloney. This is not true. That frequency's not, he knows all the frequencies, right? So he continues his work. A couple years later, again, his friend says, "Hey, that base is empty." Right?
Right.
So guess what happens?
What happens now?
They just walked into the empty base.
They just go in.
They just waltz in there. No guards, nothing. But there's all kinds of papers strewn about. There's documents, leftover equipment, high voltage machines that he loves.
He starts breaking them down.
Yep. So instead of just taking it, he makes the proper phone calls to the, this is a quote, the Surplus Disposal Agency in Michigan. That's what he said in the book. And
did he make that up, or is that?
I don't know. I didn't look into that.
Did we dig a little deeper?
I did not fact check that one, but this is what was in his book, the Surplus Disposal Agency in Michigan. And he talked to a lovely lady on the phone, and she said, "Well, you should go talk to this guy." She gave him some dude's name. He didn't remember the name. Right?
Right.
So the guy says, "Hey, we should meet." So he goes to meet this guy. The guy hands him a piece of paper that, it's some sort of like little handwritten thing. It just says, you go in there, take whatever you want. Whatever you want, you can just grab. And if anybody gives you any grief, just show them this piece of paper. And he did. He did just that. Walked in, got all of his equipment he wanted, and that was that.
Just like that.
Yep. So
and
this was after all the previous stuff, all the stories. Like, this is, once the base is closed down, I'm just saying this is how the book started. Preston. This is how he's saying that, and he's starting to remember this stuff as the base. He's like, but the Camp Hero was closed down in '68 or whatever the hell it was. Right? For 10 years, his base is running, doing God knows what, and then all of a sudden it just shuts down, leaving all kinds of stuff behind. And that's not how the military leaves bases behind, he says in his book. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? You sound like you don't believe this story.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is wonderful.
Yeah, so he knows the base was open when it shouldn't have been, broadcasting this radio frequency. Right? And there's a little quote in his book also. It certainly raises an important question, even if one doesn't believe. And here's the question. Why was an old, antiquated defense system turned on and utilized for over a period of 10 years, Josh? It's a good question. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, and then you can Camp Hero also, I should say, it's open to this day. You can go there and walk around it like it's a
yeah, in the documentary, people they would kind of walk in a couple of places, right? You can not really like break in. You just kind of walk in.
Yeah, it's like a park, some kind of not national park. It's some kind of a thing. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, it's like a wildlife preserve out there. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can waltz around there and
waltz
around. Yeah. So,
it just seems so fantastical, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then, I mean, so supposedly there's 12 floors to this base. 12 floors.
On what is
island.
Essentially an island.
Yeah.
It is an island.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's within spitting distance of the ocean right there.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah, Montauk's a lovely fishing area.
Yeah.
I hear.
And 12 stories deep.
Deep. And each one is like a different, from what I heard on some other each, like one level is the alien level. The other level is teleportation. The next one down is time travel.
Well, we do know that the military does have underground bases.
That's true.
Not right on the coast, normally.
Right.
That's not the best place to go digging into the earth.
Yeah. And then they did say, somebody that was debunking this said, I believe it was called SIL. Just what they said. I should have wrote this down, but impossible to build a 12 level.
This kind of base.
Yeah. It would have to be like such a
inland.
Well, not if they wanted to do it there, it would be such a major
construction.
Yeah, like the community would have noticed it. You couldn't just use a base and just build like inside the building. You couldn't just start digging inside. You know what I mean? It would be like you had to build the building and then bury it, kind of a thing, which they obviously didn't do because nobody.
So just the logistics of this conspiracy of Preston's is just from the get-go. But I mean, if they can do all these other fantastical things, surely they can build an underground base 12 stories deep into the...
Maybe you get in Camp Hero, and then they teleport you to the real base underground somewhere.
Well, didn't he say that? Didn't one of them... Was that the owl guy that said something about, initially he was living near the base, and he was working in the base? One of those guys, it was either Preston or that owl guy. And then he moved to, like, California, and to go to work, he would be teleported...
See, I didn't hear this at all.
I thought I saw that.
No.
I think it was the owl guy.
Wow, but that makes perfect sense. It fits right in with everything else.
I mean, if that technology is at your disposal,
if you got it, use it.
If you could live anywhere.
I mean, I guess they nailed that teleportation down with the Philadelphia experiment, right? That was kind of, I guess, the Philadelphia experiment in the movie is based on the again, quote, real experiment that took place.
Right, which also, it's important to know, that came from one person, the Philadelphia experiment, right?
I don't know.
That all came from one guy who was known as a trickster, and we're still talking about it as if it was the Eldridge, right? The USS Eldridge.
USS Eldridge. October 28th, 1943 is when that took place.
Yeah, I do have that, by the way. Okay. After time travel was perfected, I'm reading here from some information on good old Al, who was the co-author of this book. He would simply be teleported to the underground base and return back to his apartment. During the 1970s, Al was the program director for the psychics who manned the Montauk chair,
Oh boy.
also known as Cerebro from the X-Men,
There you go.
which would amplify your psychic ability.
Yeah. It's exactly
Which
what.
you just took from X-Men, which came around in the 1960s, I guess, when they were...
Yeah. It's the same chair that 11 is sitting in Stranger Things.
Right.
The little helmet, the wire helmet thing on.
So there's been quite a few pop culture things pulled from Project Montauk.
Yeah.
Stranger Things is just one of them.
Probably the most notable, as far as I know.
Of course, there was a movie, was the Philadelphia Experiment.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not familiar with that, this was a ship that was supposedly, I guess, sort of outfitted with these some sort of electronic generators of some kind. It was supposed to create some sort of invisible
I'll tell you.
field, right?
According to Preston Nichols.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
They were trying
What's
to
Preston say about it?
What they were trying to do on the USS Eldridge, this is in a shipyard in Philadelphia. They were trying to make it invisible to radar, right? So they did this experiment, electromagnetation. That's a word I just made up. They wanted to create, and this is a quote from Preston, an electromagnetic bottle around it to make it invisible to radar, right? Makes sense, I guess.
Why not try?
Yep. But what happened instead, once they fired these puppies up, the ship instantly disappeared and reappeared 400 miles away near Norfolk, Virginia.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Which apparently what he was saying is that it breached time and space and it went into another dimension, which is why the crew was all freaked out. They had no reference points. They were just in some other place. They didn't know where the hell they were, right? So they get to Norfolk. They pop back over to Philadelphia, and at this point, when they walk in that ship, there are people fused into the walls.
Yeah, there's old 70s documentaries that I think that talk about the Philadelphia Project. It
was bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
And of course, they had weird cancers and stuff, and they slowly started dying off as the years went on, and some of them died immediately. And
yep. And that Al Bielek, he is one of the few claimed survivors of that experiment.
From himself, he says that.
Yeah. Yeah. He is claiming that. So, yeah, then there are no official records of it ever actually happening, of course, but there was one merchant vessel that claimed to witness the disappearance and reappearance of the ship. It was the SS Andrew Forsyth.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's really it. But I guess a lot of the surviving crew they were all discharged as mentally unfit. So nobody would believe what the hell they were saying about disappearing ships.
Anybody else ever come forward and talk about that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Just this couple of guys, huh?
Yep.
Seems like this Al may have picked it up from that other guy that came up with the original story of the Philadelphia Experiment.
Maybe they just kind of...
I can't remember his name right now. I didn't include it in my notes, but
I know.
It's on the wiki page. Mm-hmm. Not that
he's the guy that's in that documentary too?
No, it's been a long time ago. This would have been a long time ago, but not that you should use Wikipedia as your sole source of information. Just let that be your first,
It's a good place to start with anything, I think.
Yeah, it's just start there, get your sort of ballpark of what you're looking at, and anyway.
Yeah.
But
and while we're talking about the Philadelphia Experiment, can I just really quick touch on the movie?
Yep.
I watched the trailer for it. It looks great. Came out in 1984.
It's awesome.
And you've seen it.
Of course.
You know who it stars? Nancy Allen.
Yeah.
You familiar with her?
Uh-huh.
She's best known as Officer...
in RoboCop, right?
Ann Lewis in
Sure.
RoboCop. She watched poor Murphy, and I wrote these down in my notes. I forgot. This is what I laughed about earlier that I forgot about writing. She watched as poor Murphy gets blown all to hell by Red Foreman. The dad in that 70s show.
70s show. Played an awesome bad guy.
Kurtwood Smith. Oh, God. He was great. What a movie. That first scene where Murphy gets all shot and his hand blown off.
It's brutal.
It's terrifying. It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
It holds up today as being a very brutal
Yeah, it's rough.
And that was the
They're
version
laughing at him.
most people saw would have been the R version, the unrated version, which is what you can, I think you can get like the Criterion Collection
Yeah.
DVD or
Is it
Blu-ray.
worse?
It's even worse.
Really?
It's a little bit worse. You can probably watch it on YouTube now or whatever, but
Damn.
it's even more brutal. I don't like cops.
Stops on the hand.
And cops don't like me.
Yeah, he's a good asshole. Even
Yeah.
as like just a mean dad, but he's kind of not really. And that's, you know what I mean? That 70s show, he's a great asshole.
Yeah. He didn't really play that bad a guy ever again, I don't think.
Yeah,
in any movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bitches leave.
Forgot about that. Yep. Bitches leave.
I showed that to our buddy Steven there one time, and he had never seen the movie before.
Yeah.
And when that part happened, the bitches leave, I've never seen a man laugh so hard in his entire life.
It's good. It's just so absurd, especially in this day and age. It's an absurd thing to even think about saying.
Yeah.
But
Even then, it was,
But they left quick.
right.
Yeah.
The Coke party was over.
Yep. Then that guy melting. Remember that? He gets splattered by the
Toxic
car.
waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, what a movie.
If you haven't seen RoboCop, 1987,
7, I think. Yeah.
then you may want to, check that one out. We're
87.
getting way off topic here. Anyway.
Very much. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so that's just real quick. We've talked about a few of these things. We've just sort of mentioned them. There's a lot of other things that are sort of associated with the Project Montauk. I just want to list a couple of those. What is this Nikola Tesla connection?
Yeah. He designed a lot of it, supposedly, from what I read.
Whose death was faked in a conspiracy, was the chief director of operations at the base.
Tesla?
This is what my
See, I just read that he designed the chair and like a lot of of course, the electronics.
right. Some other things, mass psychological experiments, such as the use of enormous subliminal messages projects and the creation of the Men in Black to confuse and frighten the public. That came from there.
See, I didn't know that. Men in Black is attached to this.
Yes. Well, if you're talking aliens and
That's true, I guess.
other
Yeah.
beings, then you'd have to create this supposed agency to deal with that. The facility was expanded to as many as 12 levels that we're talking about, several hundred workers. Some reports of the facility extending under the town of Montauk itself and interconnected with vast tunnel networks to other deep underground military bases, also known as D1 bases. So, did you hear that?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I told you, like, every time I looked at this thing, I'd get into one thing and it would just...
It quickly spirals
out of
into,
control.
Yeah.
And then I would just, like, go away.
Yeah.
Just go away.
It's too much at some point. Like, it's just,
But does
like,
all of this
alright.
come from Preston Nichols himself?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's people contributing their fan fiction, I guess.
To it.
Yeah.
And making it more than it actually was.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, to say that there were experiments on people, which by this point we've kind of discussed before, not during the episode, but previously as we were just talking about this thing. Okay, so you've got like the real life MK Ultra program.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Sidney Gottlieb. You've got doctors that were working on people. Jolly West out in San Francisco. You had actual experiments taking place on people using LSD, using all of these methods that they could never use legally on people.
Yeah.
These programs were taking place. And of course, the church committee hearings had happened already at this point. This was like the mid-70s when that happened. All of this stuff was known now. This stuff was sort of leaking out and becoming... people were becoming aware of it. Like, I think even at the church committee, they learned about the NSA, right?
Yeah.
Up to that point, the American populace had no idea that the NSA even existed, right? They knew the CIA existed, but they didn't fully know what they did.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it became more clear of what they were doing. and how illegal all of this shit was that they were doing, right?
Yep.
So this Preston guy maybe took some of that information, most of that information, and just started embellishing upon it. And,
I believe so.
it's not uncommon. We've got this Philadelphia experiment essentially coming from one guy. It's not uncommon for people to create these conspiracies and then they sort of catch on.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're still talking about them today. So, but there were a lot of real things that happened. Operation, I'd listed just a few as examples. Paperclip, which was the top secret program. People didn't learn about this stuff until decades later.
That was the Nazis bringing
Correct.
them over?
Yeah, that was the rat lines, getting the Nazis out.
Yeah.
Operation Midnight Climax, which was sort of a part of the MK Ultra program. They were using prostitutes, get these Johns in there, and then they were dosing them with LSD and then watching them, recording them, documenting what was going on with them.
Yep.
Operation Northwoods, COINTELPRO, Operation Dropkick, weird operations that have been done by the intelligence communities and by various agencies.
Yeah.
Another big one we're talking about experimenting on people is the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. Same with the Guatemala syphilis experiments. So, if nothing else, that would lend some credibility to his Project Montauk because there have been plenty of top secret experiments on people, right?
Yeah. Weird, wild stuff going down.
Right.
That they do.
But this is like the apex of all of these things, which includes everything.
Yeah. Just speaking of the Nazis, and just pumping out another little fact for you. Apparently, the base when they repurposed the old Camp Hero into the Montauk Project base in 1944, an American train went through you all right? You scared me. Went through a French tunnel. This is over in France during, right around war days, carrying $10 billion worth of Nazi gold, and the train blew up. Guess where the gold was found? Never was. Because it was used to make this base, supposedly. So it was funded by Nazi gold.
Nice.
And actually,
nice
fun fact for you, this is according to Preston Nichols in his book, General Patton actually looked into this. Like, why the hell was an American train attacked in an allied country, France? And he was told to he just pretty much said, don't worry about it, General Patton. It's fine. Don't worry about it. He was just said to stop
asking questions.
Yeah, come on,
General.
man. Yeah. So that's another little fun fact for you. General Patton was told to
shut up.
Just shut up and just keep on, generaling somewhere else.
This is from the book?
Yeah. This was in.
I'm so glad I didn't waste a second.
I know.
And I tried. I looked through the chapters and I was like, okay, I'm going to pick a couple here and just kind of go with it and see.
Yeah.
And,
God. There's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, what else can you say?
I mean, yeah, I had listed out and gone through a few of these. I mean, it's everything and more. Contact was made with alien extraterrestrials through the time tunnel, and advanced kinds of etheric technology was exchanged with them, which enhanced the Montauk Project. This allowed broader access to hyperspace. Stuart Swerdlow, that name ever show up in any of your research?
Yep.
Also developed the language of hyperspace. End quote. What the hell is the language of hyperspace?
I don't know. But one thing that Preston did nail in his books.
You got something right.
No, well, it's very technical sounding, right? Like a lot of his
real
stuff.
good at that.
Yeah. Like he's saying.
Well, I don't know if I would say real good, but he talks.
He talks like he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, with a certain sort of authority. He sort of projects.
Yeah.
It sounds like gibberish, but it's,
Yeah, like this one, this is about the Montauk chair, for example. He says it's a mind-reading machine that was developed. It was a chair with three coil sensors, 3 receivers, 6 channels, and a Cray 1 supercomputer that would display what's on a person's mind.
What is the Cray 1
I don't
supercomputer?
know. I don't know.
That's the thing. If nobody's ever seen or heard if you're just putting words together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I like to do when somebody says, "Yeah, my car is messed up," but it's probably the girder on the Semtech guard around the bridge coil. Yeah,
That's what it sounds
Yeah.
like to me.
yeah.
That's absolutely what it sounds like.
You just string some words together.
And you know what? Maybe we can just throw in a little bit of that, what we're talking about right now. We'll give you an example of some of his talks, so you don't even have to go searching for it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll find a clip, and I'll include that right now.
Let's say you had a pickup that was capable of also picking up the etherics, which as it turns out most of the pickups do. Coming out of the pickup, you have the etheric, which is a catch-all term for everything, or a scalar, whatever you want to call it, and the electrical representation of the compression sound waves. Now, on the normal recording, this etheric is all distorted. It's all phased, different frequencies, different phases. Let's say you had a device that could pick up this etheric signal, rephase it, bring it back in, so now it's aligned as it originally was. What you would have then is going out of your recording system, you would have basically this line. Now, just as the microphone picks up the etheric function because the coil is moving, and as it accelerates and decelerates, it generates spikes and such of etheric. Your speaker does the same thing. As your coil is moving in and out with the correlated audio signal, you only need about 30 or 20% correlation to get it. You'll also get the same etheric energy coming out of the speaker. Of course, if you have an amplifier system that responds to all these things, such as a vacuum tube system, it helps.
But yeah, it just seems like people have sort of latched onto it and made it their own. Because like you're talking about, I don't think we've mentioned the Montauk boys yet. You want to mention what those are?
I think you looked into that more than me. I mean, I know the gist of
it.
I
didn't look into it.
It's a lot of what happened there took place with children.
Experiments on children, right?
Yeah, that they say.
And homeless people, right?
Right. Children and homeless people, they would break them down. They would terrify them so much to separate themselves from their subconscious. So when they finally get down to the subconscious, this is where the memories could be, or the instructions, could be planted, right? And then they're kind of rehabbed back. Those memories forgotten later on, once they're released into the public, they can be activated to complete whatever mission they need to complete. Yeah, or they were scared to death to harvest the adrenochrome for alien food. One of those two things was happening. But I did see that they...
A Manchurian Candidate sort of thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But they were claimed to be over 100,000 people kidnapped and used in these experiments.
Really?
Yep. Over 100,000. So
we should be seeing lots of these people eventually.
Yeah, but a lot of them are homeless and children. The two people
they're adults
nobody
now.
Cares about. Yeah. Yeah. So then, did you hear about Duncan Cameron? Did that name ever come up in your thing? Because Preston was saying Duncan Cameron was like his 11. He's like his number one dude was Duncan Cameron. He was always hooked up to the machines. He was always the one going into the other dimension. He was the one that could always. But every once in a while, he would need a little break.
He was a superstar.
Yeah, Duncan Cameron. So, Montauk superstar. Yeah, so a lot of the technology, you brought up the alien contact in hyperspace, right?
Right.
There were two species of aliens that they contacted, right? First group was the Syrians that I mentioned earlier, from the Sirius star cluster or whatever the hell it was. They helped them get into the, not the time warping. Time warping was the Orions. I'm sorry, I got my notes mixed up here. From the Orion Nebula or constellation, the Orions gave them the Orion Delta T antenna that allowed them to time warp. Yeah, and then the Syrians.
I love it so much.
The Syrians gave them from the star system known as Sirius. They gave them the basic design for the Montauk chair, and then they worked it out from there.
Oh,
so they gave the basic design
Preston
to the humans.
Figured it out.
Yeah, Preston and his team they took it over from there, and They completed the Montauk chair.
Nice. Good work, guys.
Yep. Very similar to The Men Who Stare at Goats. You ever see that movie? George Clooney,
That had to do with
Ewan McGregor.
because they did do like experiments on
They did.
the psychic phenomenon
Yeah.
to see if there was.
Right.
See, that was part of real thing
Right.
that went on too.
Right.
In years past.
This is just taking it way deeper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. They did the. God.
How it literally includes every conspiracy that we almost have today. You know, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. It's easy to see why people would be sort of like fixated on the Montauk project and all that it's, involved with this thing and want to make it their own
Mhm.
and include themselves in it. As expansive as it almost kind of reminds me like, I think I mentioned earlier that it's sort of cultish,
Oh yeah.
but it's like the QAnon thing, where people have like, oh, it's just a guy doing drops, a Q drop. You have no idea where this information's coming from, who's sending it, but people have latched onto it. Like that whole January 6th thing, I guess, was what,
I don't know what you're talking about.
right, the insurrection, which
Yeah,
was just very clearly just an
You know-
operation for dummies.
But
People
it-
fell into that crap.
Just to sidetrack for a second, I was watching clips of that the other day because I guess there's something new going on. I don't know.
A trial or something?
Some kind of thing,
Some
whatever.
not a trial. It's like hearings or something.
Who
January
knows?
6 hearings.
Who knows? I don't really care, to be honest with you.
I don't either.
But
It's nonsense.
you watch these other countries where if they would to do that, there would be gunfire and destruction. These guys, they took a podium, they sat in somebody's chair and took a picture of it. They look like assholes. They look like idiots. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
There
Well,
was no, other than I guess they proved a point.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I guess I'm an idiot, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, if you're clearly, it was most people, I think it was an operation, okay, to make people that are, I guess, dummies believe this thing and think, I don't know, today we're taking back the country. Today's the day.
yeah, what good did that
You
really?
were suckered. You were suckered into an operation, and essentially, you're probably going to be. I guess people are going to have prison sentences and stuff from it.
Yeah.
People have been arrested. They're still in prison or in jail.
No.
They're locked up. They have been arrested.
Yeah.
I guess they're just awaiting trial. You fell for an operation. This is happening all the time, and it was done. I guess all this, via Q. This is where a lot of this started.
It was also done during the height of COVID when everybody had a mask on and yet their masks were off in the building for whatever reason. If any time to wear a mask, wouldn't it be then?
Yeah, but
Classic joke. Did you hear all those jokes when it was happening? Like that was the big.
I guess I missed those.
That was the big thing. Why take your mask off then?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't know. Something to think about. How did we get talking about that?
I have no idea. Oh, just because I likened it to the Q thing, this
Oh,
whole
yeah,
Project
yeah,
Montauk,
that's
people
right.
sort of latching onto it and,
Yeah.
just sort of making it something.
Yeah.
When there really
Yeah.
was nothing, you've made
Yeah.
it into something now because,
Yeah.
because wasn't some sort of portion of like the Q thing, like, I don't know, Trump is working with some sort of generals behind the scenes to stop the global pedophilic ball of elites.
Well, Josh, believe it or not, I'm going to level with you. I don't know anything about QAnon. I know of it.
It's a thing.
I know it's a thing. I couldn't tell you. As you said, if I had a gun to my head, tell me all about QAnon. I'd be like,
Tell me about it.
pull the trigger,
Gotcha.
because you just told me all I knew.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what's going on with it. Not gonna claim that I know much, but it appears as if people were sort of duped. Obviously there were a lot of federal agents in those groups of people, sort of, getting them to do things and push them further, probably than they would have actually gone. But it looks like it was just an operation for dummies. and you fell for it, you're not just going to waltz into the Capitol and not get arrested, you know. And obviously you're carrying your phone on you, so the tracking device,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I know.
If you're going to do something like that, you know.
Yep.
If you'd covered your face and not taken your phone
with you. That's what I'm saying.
you.
Exactly. It was dumbly done.
Yeah.
But, you know, if really quick, I guess we should probably get this over. I got one more experiment they did, and then we can wrap this up perhaps. So we've been talking bullshit for almost an hour and a half.
A heck of a lot more than we've actually been talking about Project Montauk.
Yeah. Did you just real quick, just to put an end to this Project Montauk talk? Did you hear about their microwave oven experiments?
I didn't hear about them. I didn't read about them.
That's what Preston called it, the microwave oven experiments. And this series of experiments lasts for about 3 or 4 years, he said. And they could beam radio waves of a certain frequency, usually 425 to 450 megahertz, and they could control your thoughts. Like, maybe not your thought, your moods is a better way to say that, your moods. And then they later on learned how to put somebody in a chair, Montauk chair. Usually that person was Duncan Cameron. And he could focus in on a single person and make them laugh, cry, sleep, become agitated. Now, does this remind you of any of your experiments or any of your military MK Ultra type experiments? This isn't a segue. I literally just want to know, because that sounds somewhat believable other than the guy in a chair focusing it. But I've heard of like sound, like DARPA doing the sound waves to like make people have panic attacks, and like it's a way crowd control.
Certain frequencies are unsettling, I guess.
Yeah.
Right off the top of my head, nothing that I can really think of sort of sounds similar to that, but
well, fair enough.
I'm not the most knowledgeable.
Yeah.
The most learned.
Yep. And to put a real end to Montauk, the rift in time and space, the portal to another dimension, to everybody who's seen Stranger Things, just imagine that. It really was that. A hole that they opened up into another dimension. The monster came through. Did you read about that? The Montauk monster? Not the fake one that turned out to be a rotting raccoon. That's one of those little cryptid things. If you Google Montauk monster, you'll see just this thing on the beach. It looks like some kind of a weird creature, but turns out, supposedly, it was just a raccoon in decomposition stage. But people were saying it was on Montauk. It's a monster leaked through into
our dimension.
In our dimension, yeah. But really, what happened at the actual Montauk base, Josh, was a monster came through from the other dimension and like started tearing the base all to shit.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh dude.
And it was just like it was all they could do.
We're looking at it right now.
I just pulled up the picture of the Montauk monster.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it was all they could do to get this creature killed. They finally did it, and it happened suddenly. It tore the base all to hell.
Interdimensional.
Interdimensional, much like the Mind Flayer, I would imagine, in Stranger Things, perhaps any other, the Demogorgon, but larger. But it destroyed the base, and that is what caused them to shut down the Montauk project.
That was the end right there, huh?
And because the base was so destroyed, and then it was such a huge scene. So they were like, all right. And then Preston walks in to disarray. Papers everywhere. Machinery left behind. But no monster. Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. The Air Force saved the day on that one.
So did they kill it or send it back from whence it came?
I'm not sure. I read it was destroyed, but I'm sure there was some heroic little girl that used her powers to send it back to the Upside Down.
Good.
Yeah. And I guess that about wraps up all we have to talk about the Montauk project. But
all those notes you had, and that's all you got?
Yeah.
All you want to share?
I mean, if you want,
this was this Project Montauk. This is the biggest load of horse shit I've ever seen in my life.
No, that's one way to think about it. I like to be prepared for any future threat, and an interdimensional monster
just in case
is a good one. Yeah,
just in case.
But the book didn't tell me how to defeat it if it happens. All I do know is that Hopper said it was afraid of fire, the Demogorgon. So
Good.
use fire for anything from another dimension.
You didn't just make that up, Demogorgon. That's actual.
Demogorgon, that's the thing from Stranger Things.
Ah, okay. See, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. You'll know.
If I ever.
And when you watch it, you'll remember this conversation. You'll be like, you'll do that. You'll laugh, have a smile, and go to yourself.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Now I'm never gonna watch.
You should. It's fantastic.
Stranger Things.
It's a fantastic show.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. If anything, just do season 3. Even that is great. Perfect season of a show for me. I loved it. Everything about it. Well,
I think those kids on that show are little assholes.
you haven't seen it.
I mean, in real life, I've seen they act like little pricks. So I don't like them.
I don't know. I will say I was a little behind a couple months ago, and this new season 4 just came out, and I was behind on that, and everybody was talking about it at work, so I turned it on, and I just to make a joke because they're younger folk, right? But I heard that what's her name, 11. I can't remember her name right now. She just turned 18, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this funny joke. You ready? Hey, I started watching the new season of Stranger Things, and everybody is so beautiful in that show. I'd have sex with every woman, even some of the men. Right? It's just a little work joke, work humor.
Right.
And, to be fair, the show is filled with just beautiful people. Everybody in it's gorgeous. Winona Ryder. She's looking great for 54, whatever the hell she is. But turns out I was watching season 3. Where they're still they're still all underage, and yeah, it was funny. I got made fun of a little bit. It was great. It was a great time.
I wish I'd been there for that.
Pedophilia humor.
Right.
Yeah.
People really enjoy that.
Yep.
All right.
All right then. On that note, we're gonna end it here.
All right. Project Montauk. Load of horseshit.
Project Montauk
Bullshit.
done. Cross it off the list. So I guess the usual.
Cross it off the list.
Yeah, we're done with it. Unless anything new comes up.
Right, which I'm sure there will be.
We will bring it up. That's it, right?
I think so.
All right. As usual, go to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. Leave a great review. Fally McSnaps, you still haven't gotten your book. So it's still up for grabs. Which I was listening to a radio show. They were talking about bullshit like Montauk Project. I forgot what they were talking about, but this guy called in. They were talking about the UFOs, the UAPs, sorry. And this guy called in, said to one of the hosts, he's like, you need to check in, you need to read this book. It's the secret diary of Admiral Richard Byrd. And he was the first one to fly over the poles and went into the Hollow Earth, and it recounts his whole experience,
Oh, he was, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's the secret diary of Richard Byrd. And then the host was like, every diary's secret until it's found. Like, he made a joke. He making fun of him because he knows it's bullshit just by listening to it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, go to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe, and terrorvex.com. You can do all that there. Send us a message. Check out Josh's Instagram page.
It's not just mine. It's ours.
It's ours, but you're the only one doing it.
Yeah, well,
And go to YouTube now. YouTube,
there will be nothing about Project Montauk on there. I guarantee it. Because it's stupid.
On the Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to post some stuff to let the folks know.
I won't.
I'll do it then.
I'm embarrassed by this episode.
No, that's what you say about every episode, though.
No.
All right. Yeah, do all that. YouTube.com/TerrorVex Podcast. We got all our episodes up there. It was great. It was no easy feat. So, I guess that's it.
Leave a hate-filled comment.
Yeah,
on
please do.
YouTube.
Please do.
We like those.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Yes. Goodbye.